Holy shit!
We've come full circle where we started. This is a picture of the debris after the collapse, I think on September 12th, a very famous picture. It's a number of famous pictures were taken that day, including one that Christians love that shows a piling that they called the cross of redemption or some shit.
Redemption, Jesus. Yes, yes.
So I thought at this point I would open the floor. I'm a long-winded dude. I've already given a way more long-winded version of the story that I'm going to give on ideology, but I wanted to open the floor to you guys since I've done.
So my 9/11 story is probably not very long, so I'll just go through it real quick because
that sounds fine.
It's pretty brief, and I think I've really told most of the key details already just over the course of this episode. So I was laying in bed. I was living with my mom at the time because I kind of bounced from mom to dad based on like, you know, who actually wanted me at any given time. So I was at my mom's house. I was a lazy fucking teenager. I was already dropped out of school at this point. I didn't have a fucking job or nothing. So I was just like spending my days like Stevieing it up and sleeping my ass off. So I'd probably been up, knowing me, till like 5 or 6 in the morning, like usual. And so when mom came banging on my door at 7 something or another, I'm obviously not feeling that. And she's like, the fucking plane just hit the Twin Towers or whatever. And I'm like, I don't care. Just let me sleep. And then, you know, some time passed. And then she's like, another one hit. This is a terrorist attack. It's a terrorist attack. I'm like, okay. Well, I guess I better see what the fuck is going on. So I fucking hobble out of bed. I'm probably fucking like on like an hour and a half, 2 hours sleep or some shit. So I'm not happy. I'm bleary eyed. You know, so I was probably pretty sluggish getting out there, but I got out. I pretty much
I have one question though.
Yes, go ahead.
How is it any different from you now?
It's not. Okay. So then I fucking
just clarifying. You said I was a lazy teenager. I was like, okay, it should have just been like it was me, TJ.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So I hobble out there. I park my ass in front of the TV, and then I see unfold before me the sequence of events that Paul has already laid out for you guys. You know, and I've already talked about how I felt about him at the time and now. You know, I saw the towers fall on the TV. Obviously, I wasn't fucking there. Parked my ass on the TV. At some point, I wanted to go get some Taco Bell, but I was told that everything was closed. I was honestly kind of pissed about it. But like I said, I mean, I knew it was a big event, but I didn't realize it was like, I didn't realize the magnitude of it, you know? I just like,
right.
I don't, you know, history is something that happens in the past. You don't think about yourself as living history. So 9/11, it just seemed like, whoa, this is a wild day. I didn't realize like this changes everything. This is something that's going to like leave its like an impact because there hadn't been an event like that in my life really prior to that, at least not one that I was cognizant of. So like I really didn't understand what I was witnessing, and I don't think I fully understood the gravity of it or like what was going to ensue. I mean, obviously no one's prescient, but I don't even think I felt the weight of it fully. And you know, I was kind of there, and I mean, I remember I was super pissed that George W. Bush was president. I probably went on some rants about how Al Gore would be so much better in this situation because I was like that at the time. You know, and I wasn't. It wasn't even that I was like a super Democrat at the time, really. Anyway, I was really more like libertarian, but I hated George W. Bush. So I was really kind of like, and I immediately was like in fucking full partisan mode blaming him. And when he had that 90% approval rating later on, I was like super pissed about it. I was like, Americans are a bunch of stupid sheep. And so I was super critical of his administration, throughout just because of my fucking hatred of him. And I really hated that giant surge of approval he got. But that's not day of shit. That's like a few days later.
Sure.
But you know, I don't know. I was glued to the TV all day. It was like I was like zoned out on it. I was watching it the same way I was watching a super dramatic TV show that I was invested in, but I don't think I really understood the magnitude of it, and I don't think I really did until some time had passed. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not too interesting of a story. It's a story about me watching TV.
Well, I got to tell you something, TJ. Like, it may not, you may not think it's like an interesting story, and maybe to some people it wasn't, but to me, it's interesting. Like, as a dude that was around your age when this happened, you know, I was in a different place in my life, but not dissimilar, as you'll hear. You know, not totally dissimilar. And no, it's always interesting to me to hear people that were alive and had brains that could process what was going on and what they thought and what happened to them that day. It doesn't matter if it's not like salacious or whatever.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but someone in the chat actually had a pretty funny comment. Juanito Ackerman said Al Gore would have kept Taco Bell open. So
that's probably true.
I bet you're right. I bet you're right.
But and Starbucks as well. That who I worked for.
Yeah, so Paul would have been busy.
Paul's like,
yeah,
the country's under attack. Paul, shut up and make a latte. You know,
you're pulling a triple today, Paul. Maybe a quadruple. If you can do it. I mean, the country's under attack. People are going to need this. Scotty?
I don't think this. I don't think it was the southern tower had not been hit yet. It was like the northern tower was like, and we just watched it and just watched everything unfold over that like 2 hours. And I just remember being like, yeah, at school, and I remember like just watching it.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, Scotty, but I had a similar experience with which Apollo was it that blew up?
Oh, the Challenger, you mean?
Challenger, sorry. Not Apollo. I'm a fucking stoner dumbass. The Challenger.
You were at the school and you guys watched the
well, man. What year was that in? Because I think it was in first grade. How old are you in first grade?
Maybe?
Yeah.
86?
I would have been in first grade. So we were in first grade. God. You guys remember there was a school teacher on board?
Yeah, they made a lot of kids were watching all over the country because there was that school teacher on board the fucking Challenger.
Dude, I was in first grade watching it live on TV when she blew up in midair. So,
yeah.
That shit was fucking.
Scotty, how long?
I'm not gonna claim I have crystal clear memories of that, but let's just say that was a rough day.
I can imagine, especially for a fucking. I don't know if you were anything as a kid like you are now.
What do you mean, like reactionary and emotional?
No, you mean like you're
no,
like
I was.
I mean neurotic and
yes, I was
neurotic and prone to worry.
That as well, yes.
Okay. But Scotty, how did they send you guys home early, or did you just stay there at school all the normal?
So we were there for a few hours, and then the teacher's like, "There's talk of like they're just gonna let everyone off school, like everyone's gonna have to go home. Like they're trying to get bus drivers and stuff back in."
So let me ask you: did the kids at your school at the time were they like excited about that? Like, yeah, school's canceled, or were they like feeling the gravity of it?
Oh yeah, no, it was a bunch of teenager shit. Like, damn, it's fucked up, dude. Like that kind of shit. Like, or like, it ranged from total apathy of people just like, who cares, to like, man, America's just gonna fucking nuke them or something. That kind of sentiment. And then it was like, well, time for everyone to go home. And then like, I remember like Dad came to pick me up, which was really unusual because my dad was definitely not the type of fucking person to come pick you up. As TJ, you would know that. It's like. Our dad did not like to go out of his way.
That alone, probably at the age of 13, would have signaled more to me about the severity of the situation than watching it on the news. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when my dad came to pick me up from school, which never happened, like Paul, I literally usually like I could take the bus, I could walk home. I usually just walked home because I asked my dad, like I remember
like how many miles was it, like a mile or more?
2 miles.
Couple miles, yeah. Miles. I had a similar situation in high school. Like I had a couple mile walk, and so it was like. I did a lot of hoofing it back and forth home.
Well, if I take the bus with a bunch of kids that I fucking can't stand, or just walk home.
Yeah, I hated doing it though because I was a fat fuck. So I preferred getting a ride, and I got as soon as I could get a fucking learner's permit and a license, I did, and I saved for a car because as soon as I turned 16, I was fucking. There's no way I was hoofing it.
You had that hope though, so I was like 13. There was no hope for me. It was like, no, I'm walking.
So
That's all there is to it.
after Dad picked you up, how did you go back and watch more shit, or did you just kind of
Do you remember
fuck
him?
around the
Do you
rest of the day?
remember? Do you remember your dad? Because you like, I'm always enthralled by stories about y'all's dad. Do you remember? Does either one of you remember your dad's takes on this from that day?
Well, I remember this. I remember like our dad decided to get Wendy's, and we had this long conversation about like because Dave Thomas was dead at that point or had died or whatever, and he's like, Wendy's ain't been the same since fucking Dave's been gone. So he went on some big rant about how Dave Thomas was like just like Wendy's has gone way downhill with that shit.
I love your dad, dude. On this day of national tragedy, your father was ranting about the death of Dave Thomas and the decline in the quality of Wendy's. I wish I'd met the man. I wish I had gotten the
a lot of it
honor
was
to
come
like,
up and
meet the dude.
you gotta understand our dad had very different mixed feelings about the federal government, like because of his imprisonment. So like he also was like,
And this was after that, right?
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
He had served his time and he was out by this point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, right.
So like our dad always had kind of like the it's the American government. What do you expect? They did a lot of fucked up shit, you know.
That's fucking hilarious. I'm glad I asked that
at the same
question.
time.
I love that your dad was fucking ranting about Dave Thomas and the decline of Wendy's on 9/11. That's perfect, dude.
At the same time, if he talked about war and like when he would go on anti-Muslim rant, it'd basically be like, look, you boys know the truth. If they're gonna fight some war, war's gonna be bullshit. Total war. No prisoners, no nothing. Bomb them all, kill them all. That's it. Then you colonize it or take it over. None of this other bullshit. No saving civilians. That's not how it works. Total warfare. Only way to win. Only way you can raise it to the ground. Kill everybody. Then you know there's no one to oppose you. That's the way you win.
Dude. That story. I'm sorry, Scotty.
No, that's
that
fine,
fucking
dude.
Wendy's story. Dude, can I just give your dad some praise? He was a fucking true individualist, man.
No,
that guy.
No, he certainly
You guys
was.
are very lucky. You guys, I know he put you through some fucking shit. I've heard the stories, but come on.
Paul, you was
guys
live
have
for
to
7
know
years after
you were
9/11.
lucky.
Let me tell you something, my dad. There was no tears cried about 9/11. I'll be
Oh, I
honest with you.
believe it.
There was never any moment of like, oh yeah, like I don't think he wanted people to die. But as far as the federal government, the government side of things, he's like, fuck them. They're incompetent. They're bullshit. They're corrupt. And I know they're corrupt. Believe me, I was rich. I know how corrupt the government is.
I was in the same boat. I didn't cry that day. I'd tell you guys if I did. I cried on Flash Fried like 3 weeks ago. I know,
Yeah.
I got no reason to act like I was more manly. I didn't cry that day.
Yeah, I don't.
And my dad definitely did not cry that day.
Honestly, after 9/11 happened, Scotty was there with him when it happened, so he knows his rhetoric on it. Like, I don't ever remember my dad ever bringing it up. Like, maybe he mentioned it and I missed it, but I don't remember him ever fucking even broaching the subject with me of 9/11.
So you didn't watch it with him?
No, I was at my mom's.
Oh, okay.
I
Did
lived
you
with,
watch it with,
at the
so
time, I lived with my dad, and TJ lived with our mom.
So yeah, like a lot of times, me and Scotty.
Was Steve in the picture? Was Steve in the picture at this
Oh
point?
yeah,
or no?
absolutely. Steve was years and years in the picture.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So can I ask you guys another question then? What, if any, do you remember were the takes of your mom and Steve?
Mom was just like obviously like super. Just she was like, you ever see the episode of South Park where with Stan's mom just like depressed in front of the TV?
Yeah.
I kind of remember my mom having like sort of that reaction where she was just glued to the TV and like super like distraught.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't remember what Steve did. I'm sure it was pretty like Freedom Fries and Team America.
I don't remember,
and stuff, but I don't remember
knowing
specifically,
Steve,
honestly.
You know Steve. Steve was definitely like war. There's
Oh,
no way he had any other sentiment on his mind.
Changes.
Oh, I'm sure he was pro-war. I'm absolutely sure of that. But I don't really remember. I'll
have to ask him. I'll have to ask him about that because that's true. Because I don't remember either. Because I didn't live with you guys then. So
and I don't remember. I don't really remember his reaction to it too much. I think he probably just thought it was fucked up. And
do you remember Stevie's reaction? Do you remember him responding?
Stevie was like a kid. He didn't care.
He was like 8. So basically, anything I remember him was Steve.
Stevie didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Fair enough.
I mean, yeah, he just didn't know.
Stevie, 9/11 happened. I want to play Rayman.
Like an 8-year-old just doesn't have enough of a fucking like, unless you're like a really precocious 8-year-old, does not have enough fucking understanding of like what the world is to give a shit about a 9/11 beyond just like the building fell down. That's sad, you know?
Right.
I mean, you know,
still.
And I mean, there are like, think about it. This happened 19 years ago. There are people watching our show, maybe not patrons, but probably a few patrons that'll end up watching this show who weren't even alive when this happened.
the only I've seen people say they were like infants or toddlers or that they were little kids. I haven't seen anyone say they weren't born yet.
I've seen people in our audience. People in our audience.
Is anyone in the chat not born yet when 9/11 happened? Just
probably not in this chat. I would say that you're gonna get some troll answers, by the way. I would guess that in this chat, probably not, but I've seen some people in our audience openly profess to be 16, 17, 18 years old.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm assuming that probably someone in here might fucking fit the bill.
And so that's what I'm saying.
Got 462 people in here, so I feel like somebody might have been born after 9/11 happened, even if just marginally.
Anybody?
Is anybody out there? Is there anybody in there? Anyway,
is there anybody out there?
Scotty, do you have anything else to say about your 9/11 day, or do you want to go ahead and just give Paul the floor?
And then I ain't topping. My dad ranted about Dave Thomas's death on 9/11. So
Yeah.
no.
I mean, that was.
By the way, this is the first time I'm hearing that was what Dad was doing at the time. Although the Dave Thomas rant,
I mean, you never really asked me.
The Dave Thomas rant, though, by the way, it was a pretty standard one in his repertoire.
I will say
rants.
this: that was the first time I heard him say it.
Oh, okay. So that was the intro. Wait, so the Dave Thomas was the heart and soul of Wendy's rant that I probably sat through like 25 times. Has its origins on 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Cool. Rock on.
Well, you remember Dad loved the chili.
That's pretty fucking hilarious.
Of course he did.
So that's why he went. He
cheese
loved
or
the
no
chili
cheese,
there.
Dude, Scotty, we need to do an episode. Cheese. We need to do an episode just about our fucking dad at some point.
Guys, can I ask you a question?
Oh my God.
Can I ask you a question?
God.
Can I ask you a question about chili real quick?
Sure.
I don't know if I know your definitive answers to this. And I'm going to ask a question. You're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, and then we're going to move on, okay?
Yeah.
Was it an indictment? Was no cheese an indictment, or was it just an observation about the chili?
I'm going to say that I used to believe that it was merely an observation.
It's definitely an indictment.
But I've come to pretty strongly believe that it was an indictment.
Okay, fair enough. I believe it's an indictment as well. I think we're all on the same page.
I just feel like
when we covered that show years ago, I remember all three of us kind of coming at the same time, like, this is an indictment. This is not like a, observation, like looking at, because we always knew like, where she was in relation to the shit was being filmed.
But it is a topic of discussion. So, yeah.
All right.
Fair
so are you guys cool with me just doing my thing?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to fuck up your flow and interrupt you a couple times.
No, that's fine.
But
I don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, I've covered it before, and I'm not going to do my full spiel.
I gotcha. Well, just feel like unleash the details you feel are pertinent. I might ask a follow-up question or a clarifying question here and there.
But yeah,
I was living at the time. I just recently in June moved back to California from Arizona. I was living with my dad and stepmom at the time in a condo. The reason I was living with them was because they were paying rent on the condo and I was to take over rent on that condo. And so there was supposed to be a couple months span where we all kind of cohabitated, and then he was moving out, and this happened during that time. I woke up, I had a little TV in my room and it was on. My ex-girlfriend my girlfriend at the time had turned it on when she left, probably seeing what was going on in New York. I woke up and looked at the TV, and kind of my eyes kind of like were kind of glazed over and shit. And I watched live as that plane hit the second building and heard the newscasters go, was there a secondary explosion? What was that? Blah, 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 blah. And then I saw other angles and blah, blah, blah. And I started flipping through the channels. At some point I moved downstairs where my stepmom was. My dad was at work, and my girlfriend at the time, who I lived with, was at work. And so it was me and my stepmom for a good chunk of the day. And she was just glued to the TV, sitting in her recliner. And I sat in my dad's recliner where he usually sat and just sat with her silently and watched it until I think my girlfriend came home. She also was working at Starbucks at the time. And so when they closed the Starbucks, she came home. She joined. And then my dad eventually came home from work and he joined. And we just sat and watched together. The eeriest moment for me was when I went outside to get a breather and probably smoke a cigarette. And the quiet of it. Like typically the area that condo was a busy area of Fresno, California, that always had, unless it was 3 a.m, always had like busy, people coming and going, and you could hear the busy street that it was near, and like the sound of airplanes and all that shit. There wasn't everybody was inside. Everybody was watching TV. All the planes had been grounded, so there was not a noise. It was like complete dead silence in the midst of a city, which was an eerie thing that I've never had happen to me before, or since. I already talked about the anger that I had that day. I don't think I have anything more to say about that. I'm just being honest. I mean, I wanted to see people suffer for what had happened to the people in these collapses that you're seeing. I wanted people
sounds
to
like, I was gonna say, it almost sounds like you ever seen I'm sure you've probably seen it, Paul, but the movie 28 Days Later, where it kind of emerges in the city, and it's just like
it's definitely reminiscent of
being
that.
empty.
Yeah. I mean, I could hear birds and stuff, but it's like I usually wasn't able to hear that type of shit because I lived in a fucking urban environment with cars and commerce, and all that shit was done. Everybody was inside, glued to the TV as I had been. Not a plane in the sky, nothing. Just dead silence in the midst of a fucking big city.
Where you guys live, is there a flight path over? Would you guys regularly hear planes?
There's a big airport in Fresno. You guys have flown into it, I think.
What do you think, like, do you remember how exactly you felt in that eeriness of that, like, city? You remember, like, what sort of, like, thoughts or like, emotions you might have been experiencing at that moment?
I went outside seeking peace and, like, a break, and I ended up being filled with more dread when I walked back in than when I walked outside. Like, I smoked a really fucking shaky cigarette out there and was like, fuck. Because I thought it was going to be a respite for me to go outside and hear that people were going about their lives, and they were not.
Right. Like,
and
it just drove home how eerie and, like, strange the day was.
Well, yet again, what social animals people are, that you're looking to your peers and the other animals around you, and it's like, nope, everyone's doing the same thing you're doing. Like, oh shit, this is not good. Like they gave you I think that's what it did, is it gave Paul that confirmation, like, the way you're feeling is very valid, and it's not something to be like, oh, I can discard it and say, everyone, I'm overreacting. I'm actually not overreacting.
Right. Beyond that, I really don't have much else to say. If you're interested in a more comprehensive story where I go into a whole lot more detail that doesn't really add much to the story, but is maybe a little more heartfelt than what I just did. I'm sorry I couldn't summon it today, but I'm feeling a little drained after. In fact,
we've been talking about 4 hours
of
shit.
I'm going to stop the running footage that's on my main monitor for a while and just let that. In fact, I'm just going to stop sharing and let it be us for a minute here at the end.
Yeah, decompress.
So yeah, I just can't really summon it. I wanted to say that I don't think I've ever shed a tear over 9/11. I came very close today for maybe the first time. I was talking to my girlfriend. And I don't want to worry people. My life is stressful right now. Everybody's lives are stressful. And I'm having life shit. I'm going through a lot of, I got to get this, I got to do that, blah, 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 you know what I mean? And I was stressed out and trying to pull stuff for this morning. And I was talking to my girlfriend about it because I was dismissive with her in a way I didn't like. Like, I wasn't mean to her, but I was just kind of like, I got to focus, and just, yeah. And then I went to her and I was like, I'm really sorry for that, because I try and not treat her that way. We try not to treat each other that way. And so I went to her and I apologized and I said, I'm just sitting here and I'm pulling this shit from 9/11. And typically I avoid this. Like, I don't go around looking for this anymore. It's been a long time since I've really looked at a lot of footage from 9/11. And, for lack of a better term, it bummed me way the fuck out, And as I was telling her that, I felt like if I'd have let myself, I probably could have just cried, because, and it would have been the first tear that I ever shed for 9/11. You know, maybe it'll happen on some future year. I don't know that I'll revisit this on another 9/11 year.
I don't think I will for a
You
while.
know, this
anyway.
is, but I've never done this. I've never marked the occasion, you know, by talking about and thinking about and trying to re-experience.
Well, let me ask you this, because I saw this being discussed today. Some people were talking about how like there should be some kind of national holiday marking 9/11. Do you think that should happen?
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Why wouldn't there be? Absolutely, there should be a national holiday commemorating this day. I mean, the world changed that on this day. If you didn't get that from what we're talking about, I don't know what to tell you. Like
Yeah.
Scotty covered some
There's-
exact things that have happened in the wake of this. I told
There's no
you about
denying it.
how the world changed. Absolutely.